Welcome back to Breakdowns and Bets. I'm Santino DeFranco, and with me, as always, is Brandan Olivas. Today, though, we're not going to talk about a specific card. Usually, we come on here, we talk about a card, we give our picks, all that good stuff. I actually want to give a good introduction to those of you who are new to MMA, who are new to MMA betting, especially as to how we come up with the process of who we bet on, who we like, what we think about things. Brandon, what do you think, not what you bet, what do you think most people bet? Like, how do they bet? Just with who's popular, or who do they look at odds? What do you think?
That's a good question, and I guess it depends on who's looking at it, right? So there was a few months there where the people who just like to take every underdog that they see. Everybody has crazy odds just for the sake of having crazy odds, right? So there's those kind of people. Then you have the people who are MMA fans, and if you get somebody from Hawaii, they only bet Hawaiian fighters, and then there's that way. Or whoever's the most marketable. Conor McGregor is the best. I'm only going to bet him because he's popular and everybody likes him. You know what I mean? There is many, many, many different styles of bettors, and there's a reason that a lot of these books and they're able to sponsor the UFC and they have these insane casinos, right? Because most of the time, it doesn't work.
Yeah, they say the house always wins, and I think with sports, I think that's a good one. They know, because people like to bet sports with their hearts. I mean, you get Jets fans. Why are there Jets fans? They haven't won a game in like 10 years. You get basketball teams, it doesn't matter. I'm betting the Knicks. I'm betting the Knicks. Well, the Knicks are, it could be 50-50. They don't care. They're betting the Knicks. Today's the day. People get emotional when we're talking about sports. People love sports. People love sports figures. People love sports teams. And you don't want to be emotional when you're betting with your money. So we're going to talk about that today, you guys. We want to introduce you. There are probably many ways people bet. And honestly, there's probably a lot of people out there that are betting better than we are, smarter than we are, but we tend to be pretty good. Brandon, you've made a ton of money betting. You make a lot of really good bets. You make a lot of really big bets. I happen to be an MMA coach, a world champion MMA coach. I think I know the sport probably better than most. So I think we're relatively two qualified people to talk about this. So we want to bring you guys in, and we have different perspectives. Like you have the way that you bet. I have the way that I bet. And we were actually talking about this a little bit earlier. We were talking about stocks, and I was thinking about the way that you bet stocks tends to be a little bit more numbers. And I shouldn't say bet stocks. You invest in stocks a little bit more by the numbers, by an algorithm, by Moneyball, this number minus this number once it hits this much. And I think you tend to do that a little bit more with your gambling bets as well. You bet lines, you understand the lines, you know how often lines hit and stuff. I don't. Same as with the stock market. I tend to go more holistic, more organic. I tend to look at the stock as a whole and kind of use normal human logic with it, same as my MMA bets. I don't generally bet lines. I bet really fight tape and different things like that. So they're both very different, but yet they both seem to work fine for both of us. And so let's get into this. Let's talk a little bit about the way that you bet, the way that I bet, the differences. I'm going to run through really quickly and give a quick just breakdown of how I bet. Then we can get a quick breakdown of how you bet, and then we'll go a little bit more in depth on each. Okay, so I have it numbered out. I actually listed this because I was like, what? I know how I bet, but if I had to actually articulate it quickly, I'm like, what is the actual order that I bet in? And the first thing I do is I look at a fight card. I look at a fight card. You can go to Tapology. What website do you use? Do you use Tapology, Mixed Martial Arts, SureDog?
Tapology. Best one by far.
It is the best one by far. The actual Association of Boxing Commissions and most mixed martial arts promotions use mixedmartialarts.com. I find it to not be as accurate. And honestly, it's just more cumbersome to look at. Tapology is so easy. It's all on one page. I love it. I love it. I love it. And I wish no Tapology doesn't sponsor us, but I wish they did, but they don't. It just happens to be the best one. So I go to Tapology, I look at the card, and I kind of scroll through. What do I like the best? Are there any fights that interest me? And then if there are, the second thing I do is go to each fighter's page and look at their record. I look at the record, kind of strength of schedule type of stuff. Then after that, if I decide, okay, I am more interested in this, then I watch tape. All the while, I don't know the odds. I don't know who is doing what. I no idea. Then after that, I kind of look. After I watch tape, I think, who is going to win this fight? And it's kind of an arbitrary thing. I think, is so-and-so going to kill? Is X going to kill Y? X, I think, will beat Y, or this is kind of a toss-up. And then once I kind of know, okay, I think someone's going to win big, I think they might win, or it's a toss-up, then I go and look at the odds. And then I see, okay, is my thought on this fight what the odds makers think? And a lot of times it is. A lot of times I, think I see eye to eye with the odds makers. Sometimes I'm very off on the odds makers. I'll get more in depth with that after you talk about your kind of list of stuff. And then, like I said, we'll go more in depth. What does your process look like? Do you do the same thing, or are you looking at odds first? Where do you start with?
So it depends on the card, obviously, right? So with the UFC, I mean, they put out the odds weeks and weeks and weeks in advance, right? When you get a Bellator card or you get some of these small promotions, the odds don't get released a lot of times until a day or two before the actual event comes out, right? So when I'm studying, when I'm getting ready, I have no choice, but I can't use odds, right? So doing the podcasting and the breakdowns that we've been doing has forced me to actually change a little bit, right? I have to be ready earlier in the week where I used to be ready Friday night or Saturday morning, right? Take my time with it. So what I do, I open up Tapology, and much like you, I just do a quick glance. Okay, is there any fights to me that I would call like 100%er, right? In most UFCs, I don't see 100%er, right? It's just everyone is so good in the UFC. I might see somebody I think is an 85% chance of winning, but rarely do I see 100%ers, right? So I do a quick glance, and then I'll do a quick glance at the odds, just kind of check it out, see. And basically what I do is I use the odds as a roadmap. So if I'm seeing a huge favorite, minus 400, minus 300, I don't so much break down the numbers and believe in the lines and the odds and all the movement and all that kind of stuff, because we see that fail all the time. But I use it as a roadmap. How is Las Vegas getting to this number? What is the big advantage where they can see why this guy is the favorite? Or why is this guy such a big underdog? Is it a late replacement fight? Is he moving up a weight class? Is he UFC debut? Like, what is it that's making this person that? So I use the odds as a roadmap, and I try to figure out how they got there. And then, like I said, I actually really enjoy this because now doing the podcast, I tape almost every single fight. So I start at the bottom of every card. I start at the bottom, because there's so much more for me. There's so much more meat in the earlier fights. And I just watch film. And, within 2 or 3 fights on each person, I can tell if this is a bettable fight or if I just don't even want it, right? I kind of take notes of small little holes in the game. And then right away, I type out everything that I'm seeing. So that's where I'll put it in the Telegram chat, or I do my own personal notes. I see any holes, any critical flaws, and I figure out how we got to that betting number, those odds. Why did we get there? So that's my first look.
Okay. And then what do you decide to bet on? Are you only betting good odds? Or are you only betting decent? Like, are you betting fights that you like the odds on? Or are you liking fights that, these aren't great odds, it's minus 500, but it's a sure shot?
Yeah, to me, and this is just my own principles, I try to get it at plus odds. I only bet parlays, guys. For me, it's just more juice is worth the squeeze. And usually I'm so accurate with these, and I can get so many to string together 3, between props or just straight up fights. It's not super hard. 3 to 4 is where I feel very comfortable. I don't care the odds. I try to get a plus if I can, but if I can't, guys, I like to just take wins. if I win 1,000,000 times, I'm going to do much better than the guy that hits the plus 1,000 parlays every 3 months, right? If I just continue to win, I lock up solid victories. So if it's a minus 500, I'm going to throw it in the parlay. If I truly, truly, truly believe that that is a guaranteed winner, I will put it in. Now, where I've started to kind of draw the line is these massive favorites that are minus 800 or minus 1,200. The less fights that you can have in a parlay or in a bet, the better, because you never know what happens. A crazy knockout, you twist your ankle, a DQ, any number of things can happen. So you limit the amount of fights in a bet. I try to get as close to even money or plus money as I can, and I string together 3 or 4 of just my favorite bets. It doesn't matter if the line is close or if it's really far apart. Whatever I truly believe is going to win is how I play.
Okay, interesting. I kind of do. I've been messing with parlays recently. I do well with them, but then I get annoyed when I lose one, and it pisses me off. So I started betting straight. I started out betting straight up. Rarely would do parlays. I've probably been doing more parlays since we've been doing the podcast, and then now I've kind of been going back to straight up bets, and I definitely do better with straight bets. And see, I kind of do, I don't. So like I said, I go through, I look at Tapology, and even right there, you can start to see patterns. Oh, this person is losing in the first round. Oh, this person is losing in the third round. This person is losing by knockout or submission. The other thing that Tapology tells us, which is something that, I guess tape of fights could tell us, the tail of the tape, are things like age, reach. I want to know those types of things: height, age, reach, what camp they're from. So I look at Tapology. Oh, somebody's fighting out of Sanford MMA, and they're fighting somebody out of John Joe's garage. Somebody's padded record. You see somebody coming out of XFC out of San Diego. We've seen some guys in the UFC 12, 13, 14, 15 and 0 come out of XFC and then just get obliterated minute and a half into a UFC fight. So the Tapology record will tell us a lot, because we know a lot about MMA. So we know, oh, so-and-so, somebody, Conor McGregor, keeps losing to taller fighters, or with somebody with reach, or, he keeps losing submissions, or he chokes. All right. Maybe chokes specifically. He defends every other thing. He defends arm bars 1,000 times out of 1,000, but he can't stop a choke to save his life. So you start to see those patterns that you don't have to watch 2 hours of tape for. So once I kind of see those patterns, and then I start to see, okay, is this a fight that I think I want to dig deeper into? Then I start watching tape. And I think you're with me on this. We've talked about this a lot. Tape. And you've watched tape with me. We've studied fights together. You train with me. So you know what I'm thinking when I look at tape. One of the first things is their cardio. How is their cardio? That's it. Like, is this person...
It's got to be above all. It really has to be above all.
That's it. We've said it all the time. It doesn't matter who's better in a fight. It matters who gets off the stool in round 2. As long as you're good enough to get off the stool in round 2, I don't know what the algorithm is. There's a ratio of technique to cardio. If your technique is through the roof, your cardio just has to be at a moderate level. If you're, and somebody else is, if your technique to their technique ratio is high, all right, then you don't have to be in as good of shape to still win. If your technique to technique ratio is moderate or bad, maybe you don't have the technique that they have, then you need to have much better cardio than they have. And that's it. Technique to cardio, that's a huge ratio. It's completely arbitrary, but you can see it watching fights. It's nothing that you could actually explain as a fight coach, as a fighter. You can see what we're talking about. And if somebody's too gassed with their technique. And those are the biggest things. And then again, watching patterns. It's not A beats C beats D. What it is how do they match up stylistically? Does somebody have a chin and they're fighting somebody who doesn't hit very hard? Well, that's very different than somebody who doesn't have a chin and is 39 years old. And so that's when I start to find out, okay, who do I really think is going to win? I break those things down. I see who I think is going to win. And then I go to the odds. And most of the time when I'm like, this person is going to kill this person, the odds reflect that. Somebody's minus 300, 500, 900, huge favorites. Every once in a while they're close. Sometimes they're close, and then sometimes they're at plus odds. The ones that I love, and these I would call them unicorns, but they're not as unicornish as you might think. A lot of times I think, whoa, somebody's going to kill, X is going to kill Y. And then I look and the odds have the person who I think is going to absolutely win as a dog. Man, I bet those heavily. I love them. I love them. If I see anything that's remotely close in terms of odds, but I really think somebody's going to win. So, okay, I really think this person is going to win. If they're anywhere between a minus 200 and a plus 200, I'm probably going to bet that. You know, I mean, those are decent enough. If I think somebody's going to win and they're, I don't know, minus 250 to 350 to 450, I may throw that in a parlay, but I probably won't. You know, it kind of depends. But then, you know, sometimes you see these fights that are really close, and those are the ones that I generally like to avoid. We've talked about a lot of those on the podcast. Chandler Gaethje, our bet for that fight was don't touch the freaking fight. We said, yeah, gun to our head. Both of us picked Chandler. We were both wrong. Neither of us touched the fight because we're both smart enough to know you can't win on that fight. I mean, yeah, it's a coin toss. And that's kind of how I bet. I bet like tape. I think who I think is going to win. And then I decide, is the bet itself worth my analysis of the fight? Sometimes I'll throw parlays in, you know, but generally that's my betting strategy. Now, like you said, with a podcast, we're forced to watch tape earlier. So now I'm watching more tape and more tape and more tape than I even like. And I do bet more. I see more. I see the odds more. So that's changed stuff a little bit. But if you're not like me, if you're not like you, forced to run a bunch of tape because we're putting out a podcast, that's the structure that I would follow, being me.
All right, let me give a little Bible here, and
okay.
We can keep this short and sweet. But I think this would be fun. The Fury FC fights were actually on Sunday. I picked a couple. I've been kind of shifting my focus a little bit from the fight, so I haven't been spending as much time. But I picked an underdog, and I nailed the card perfect. And my analysis was dead on. So I think it might be fun to kind of take you guys through this one and just show you exactly how I saw it, exactly how the fight went. But let me just say this, okay? So Bible, if you guys want to start making money and stop losing money on fights, you guys got to quit the props. I know they look so juicy. By KO, by submission, the second round, by wheel kick. I know it looks so juicy. You get those plus odds, plus 850. You got to quit that stuff. I mean, if you guys want to make money, and I'm talking seriously make money, you know, people have told me I'm going to lose gambling forever and ever and ever. And I have made $100,000, lost it all, made it all back again a couple times over, right? So if you guys want to be in the serious money, you guys have to quit with the prop stuff. The only two props that I like is does not go the distance and over one round. And even those I try to avoid if I can. Okay.
Yep.
So that's just for me the thing. Now, let's go Bible here, guys. If you want to do your own film study, you want to take a fight and you want to break it down. So first and most important, we just talked about is cardio. Second is, I would say fight IQ. Would you agree with that?
I would say either fight IQ or wrestling pedigree.
And I think those are very interchangeable. But
yeah, I don't know which one. You know, it kind of depends on the fight. But you could interchange both of those in my book.
Let me give you the best example of why fight IQ is number 2. Okay. So Bellator just happened. I got crushed, guys. I lost $30,000. One guy was an Olympic wrestler, and got beat by a 20-year-old pudgy kid that they brought in to get slaughtered. And then later in the night, in the co-main event, Tyrell Fortune, who is a phenomenal wrestler, lost to a guy who can't defend a takedown because his fight IQ was horrible. I mean, he was losing small exchanges, small positions, and he's a phenomenal wrestler and would give up his back.
Okay, I concede. Now,
easy point there.
Wait, before we move on, explain to people what you're talking about with fight IQ. And there's a lot, and it changes per fighter, but I want to hear what you think what you think about Fight IQ. I'll explain what I think about Fight IQ, so that way the people listening kind of understand what the hell are we talking about with Fight IQ.
Yeah, and for me, it's really, really simple. So for me, this is probably number one. You don't have to be perfect at takedown defense. Although I love somebody who can defend a takedown and is extremely hard to take down, because that works in their favor for tiring out somebody else, cardio issues on the other side, right? That's great. But when you are taken down, what is your first reaction? Do you lay on your back, or are you up immediately? We're putting this out, Tuesday, Wednesday. So this weekend, Sean Soriano's fighting, and he's fighting a guy who's a wrestler, and we're going to see this happen. What I'm seeing from Sean Soriano is the second he's taken down, he is standing back up as quick as he can. He's controlling hands. He's getting off the cage, right? The other thing I love, and we'll just use Sean Soriano, composure. So standing up, I love composure. We saw this a few weeks ago with Choi. He was too excited to finish this fight. He was swinging way too hard. The one thing that will improve greatly with him is Fight IQ is composure. Are you calm in the pocket? Do you make all the right decisions? And you guys hear me say that a lot, right? Can we figure out how to win these rounds at the pivotal moments? It's a close round. Let me just swing and let's steal this round, or let's shoot a last second takedown just to seal the deal. So I would say it's got to be. Oh, go ahead on this. I want to hear what you say on Fight IQ.
Okay, I think the biggest thing, and this is not something quantifiable at all. This is, does the fighter know how to win? And you see that a lot. You see, Brian Ortega is a good example. People are like, oh, he's not that good, or this and that, and because he was losing to Cub, he was losing to who was it? Not Cub, I'm sorry, Guida. He's losing to Guida. He's losing to this person, losing to that person. And then he found a way to win. Well, finding a way to win to me is everything. So if you're horrible, but you find a way to win, and I'm not saying Brian Ortega is horrible, not even at all. I'm just saying watching.
No, he's very good, actually.
He's very good, but you'll see him losing stand-up exchanges. You'll see him getting taken down. You'll see him in these seemingly losing fights, and then he wins. Brian Ortega knows how to win a fight. And you see that with a lot of guys. They don't seem overly fantastic anywhere, but they know how to win. That to me is number one. Does like Dan Henderson. Dan Henderson needs to land a right hand. He knows that. Some people don't know what they're good at, and they don't know how to win. And that right there is big. Do they actually know how to win? So that's the first thing I look for. What you said is huge, though. Are they aware of the time? Do they know how to win a round? Is it a close round and they get a takedown with a minute left, or do they try it with 10 seconds left? That's a big difference in what you can do. You made them note they get taken down. Do they try and stand up immediately, or do they lay there? That drives me nuts to see people. Now, if you're really good at jiu-jitsu, you get taken down. Hey, throw a submission up there. If you get it, great. And if you don't,
but then boom, stand up.
You pop right back up. Now, if you're not great at submissions, you pop right back up. What we've talked about before, our dear friend Kamuela Kirk, jump into guillotines. If somebody's trying to take you down, do you jump for the guillotine or do you defend the shot? And when is the last time that you saw somebody win off of jumping to the guillotine? It doesn't happen. Guillotines are Hail Marys. Guillotines are things that you need because you're down, not things that you do when you're up on a card and you give a round away. And those type of things are Fight IQ. It's the decisions that you make. You're hurting somebody standing and then you clinch. What the hell are you doing? And there's a lot of things. Every single fighter's Fight IQ would be different. Sean Soriano coming up, his Fight IQ is going to look different than a Tyron Woodley's Fight IQ. Okay, can they get the takedown? Do they stand up? What do they do? This and this and that. The biggest thing for me is, do they know how to win?
How do they manage their energy?
Yes. Do they manage their energy well? Is it all or nothing?
Are you trying for a takedown that you know you're not going to get and burn your arms out, and then the second round you come out with nothing?
Yep. Or are you just striking and striking and striking? You let somebody get really settled in, boom, and then you hit your takedown. Smart choices. So that's my definition of Fight IQ. Continue on with your Bible. I'm curious.
Okay, so guys, just to cover really quick, we have cardio as number one because you can be the most phenomenal in the world. If you can't come out round 2, you're gonna lose. Okay, 2 is fight IQ. I think we both agree on that. And then I want to put this with a parentheses before it. So we said wrestling, but I want to put cage wrestling in parentheses.
Oh my gosh!
So
yes,
let me give you guys a little tip. Okay. When you see somebody in a fight, okay, and they have a double leg and they're pushing somebody against the fence and they're in on a double leg and they start using their foot to try to reach around and sweep a leg out, you know instantly they have no knowledge of cage wrestling. That is your first tell, your easiest tell, and the truth is 90% of your people in the UFC cannot cage wrestle. So whether it be offensive or defensive, the cage wrestling is so important. You know, are they pushing the face up? Are they separating? Are they getting off the fence? Great example, Lando Venata fought Mike Grundy. Mike Grundy is an accomplished wrestler, and he could not even get a hold of Lando Venata. He made all the right decisions, and his cage wrestling and his wrestling in general, insane. So beautiful.
Yeah, I think cage wrestling is huge right there. So we've got cardio. And really when we're saying cardio, okay, so of course, number one, that really comes into play after round 1. And we're assuming that these guys are good enough to get through round 1. Knockouts happen. Crazy stuff happens. Hey, that's the sport we're in. We're assuming you get out of round 1. How do you recover off the stool? Okay, so to recap, we've got cardio number 1. We've got fight IQ number 2. We've got cage wrestling number 3. What's the rest of your Bible?
I like number 4, the chin. I like a good chin number 4. We just saw this last week. Miguel Baeza is better than that guy everywhere, and Chaos lands a bomb, and Miguel's been known to have a weak chin. So all that stuff is for naught if you have no good chin. I would say the next one is going to be the gym. So after all of that stuff, then I like the gym because I think the gym plays into a lot of that stuff, like fight IQ, like
over
cardio.
Age.
They want their fighters to represent well. Oh yeah, age has got to be in there somewhere too. So yeah, let's put age before.
But age,
all that.
age only matters
if
if you're over 35. If you're over 35, age matters. Otherwise, it really doesn't come into play too much.
Yeah, so I guess move that where you want it and consider that when you're 35 and over, you know, I would say 90% of the time, the younger fighter's going to win. Even like Frankie Edgar, Marlon Vera, we saw that. We both thought skills-wise, Frankie had the goods to do it. But at the end of the day, the younger fighter wins almost 90% of the time.
And age is correlated with chin
gym
significantly.
Yeah, these all tie in together. And then here's the very last one for you guys. This is the end of my Bible, okay? I learned this very expensive lesson this week. The end of my Bible is having enough fight film to watch. You know, a lot of people fall in love with guys that are 7-0 with 7 first-round knockouts. Well, we've never seen a second round. We've never seen a decision. We've never seen them lose before. So having enough film to go back and watch every type of win or every type of loss and really have an understanding of a fighter. How do they react when they're in good situations or bad situations, right? So I lost a significant amount of money last week on Mahmoud Subi, the Egyptian Olympian wrestler who has 3 fights, only 2 that I could find, and was within a minute, right? I didn't have a full catalog. I've never seen him fight 3 rounds before. Now, did I think he was going to lose? Not a chance. But we went to round 2 and he had an adrenaline dump like crazy. Round 3 ended up getting finished by a guy they brought in to slaughter. So guys like Jimmy Crute, I love Jimmy Crute because we have wins, we have losses, we have knockouts, we have decisions. We have a full catalog to look from.
I like it. Anything else? Any other things that you like to throw down on betting? I believe that is pretty much most of what I have. I mean, it's film and film and film, and rarely will I ever bet a fight if I can't watch film on it. Like I will not, even if I'm confident about stuff, you know, on paper. Oh, who do you think will win? like, I don't know. You know, like, of course we might think we know who is going to win, and then we'll watch film on a fighter that kind of is a easy, almost a gimme type of fight. And then you start going, wait a minute, I'm not sure if I feel the same way. I might avoid this. And I think the biggest thing for me is watching film over all else. Everything else is, you know, it's stats. It's stats. And in football, any given Sunday, all right, Jacksonville Jaguars just beat the Buffalo Bills. Buffalo Bills minus 1,100, biggest favorite of the week. And they lost, I believe it was 6-9. Stats tell a lot, but they do not tell the whole picture. And you can find things out that stats will never be able to reveal by watching not even a lot of film. You watch a couple full fights, you've probably seen enough for most fights. You don't need to go deep. Now there's some fights you have to go deep on, but probably if you're having to go that deep anyway, they end up being the fights where you're like, I probably don't want to end up touching that anyway, because those get too close.
Here's a cool little wrinkle that I use. So to save me a ton of time on watching film, if I need to see somebody's takedown defense, I go onto UFCstats.com. I look up their name, I look up the fight, and I see what round they were taken down on. And then, because a lot of the fights is circling, it's a lot of nothing. Or if they're on the ground and nobody's getting up, I'll find the round that they were taken down, and I'll fast forward and I'll see what happened on the takedown. Was it, they tripped over and they got on top, or was it a real takedown, and how they reacted? I fast forward to the moments that I really need to see.
I like that. Yeah, I'll play stuff on 1.5 speed, 2 speed. I don't need to see the whole thing. I need to see patterns. And really one-offs don't matter. I need to see patterns. I need to see things again and again and again. Once is a coincidence, twice is a pattern. That's it. You see something more than once, and you really get to gauge how people are going to react.
Yeah, I just want to do one really quick with you guys, just so you guys can kind of get an insight on kind of strategy and how I bet. So if you guys want to pull up on Tapology, you can pull up the Fury FC 53 card. Okay. Now I looked at this card. There was nothing that really stuck out, but the one fight I looked at was George Tokos versus Clayton York. Tokos' record was 5-2 at the time, and Clayton was 4-2. Okay. So click on Tokos. Guy's 6'3". And his gym affiliation is Sanford MMA. His 2 losses are in Bellator to Ty Gwerder and Kevin Fryer. Okay, and then we look at York. He lost to Julius Angliskis. So that's a tough fight, right? That's a tough fight is Angliskis. Now, the things that I looked for, guys, so obviously we have Sanford MMA. Looking at George York, he lives in Oregon, and he trains at his own gym. So Instagram will be your best friend also. Okay, so he trains at a small gym, jiu-jitsu gym in Oregon. Now you look at the body composition. You got 6'3" George Tokos, which if you look at his Instagram, he's training with every best guy in the world. You have Clayton York teaching jiu-jitsu to kids, and he's huge, muscled up guy. Okay, now what's funny is Clayton York was the favorite in this fight. And I'm thinking, man, Tokos has fought in Bellator. He's massive. He's a grappler. He's just kind of a durable guy, right? Good chin. He's tough. He's in your face. Now, they both have cardio issues, but you're looking at a guy who's, 5'11", and he's got these massive muscles versus a guy who's a little more agile, 6'3", great gym. So we kind of ran down everything, right? So cardio, I would give the edge to Tokos, right? Just by how his body is made up. Now, the other factor is this fight was in Denver, right? So the altitude kills you even worse. So who do I think is going to fade first? Maybe the super jacked guy, okay? So we have cardio, Tokos. Fight IQ, I would also go Tokos. I mean, he's at Sanford MMA. They're awesome with fight IQ. He did make some right decisions. Even when he sometimes makes bad decisions, I think he does more right than he does wrong. So I would go Tokos, fight IQ. Cage wrestling, his wrestling looked clean to me. And especially against the level of competition, he got Gwerder down. I love it. Okay. So there's cage wrestling for Tokos. Let's see. Chin. Okay, chin. good chin. You know, Ty Guerta's a very tough guy, ended up getting him out of there, but he took a lot of punishment before that. So I like this chin. Okay. Camp, we already talked about that. Sanford. And then fight film. I mean, we had plenty of fight film. You know, we've seen him go to decisions. We've seen him win. We've seen him lose. And they go to fight. And Tokos puts Clayton York to sleep within the first couple minutes. As an underdog, easy win, not even a little bit of adversity. Clayton York shot in on a takedown, got tired chasing the takedown. Again, small gym, not crazy MMA. Tokos sees this look every single day of his life and puts him in a Darce choke, puts him out. Easy win. That's the thought process that we're looking at. You know, where's the fight located? Who are you training with? What's your cardio? What's your fight IQ? He hit every single one, and that was a perfect underdog.
And exactly, it helps money-wise when those things line up and they're an underdog. Love it. Well, thanks, Brandon. I appreciate it. I'm sure these people out here are going to appreciate it. If you guys have questions on bets and how we bet, geez, I can't even speak, how we bet, let us know. Leave them in the comments. We'd love to hear from you guys. And you guys are a great community. You guys are always awesome. As always, please like, share, and subscribe. Check Brandon out on Instagram at Brandan Olivas. I am at Santino DeFranco. And we'll hear from you soon.